Your IRS supervisory agents Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler testified this afternoon as whistleblowers on Capitol Hill. House Oversight Committee member Jim Jordan of Ohio detailed what he believes to be inconsistencies in the story of U.S. Attorney David Weiss overseeing the Hunter Biden criminal probe and whether or not he had been given full authority to file charges. Jordan noted the whistleblowers have more credibility than the Department of Justice.
And it sounds like in this investigation to me, Mr. Shapley, that the prosecutors and the investigators were in agreement for most of the investigation, and then we get to October of 2022. I see Mr. Ziegler nodding his head. And that meeting is where David Weiss told you something. Is that right, Mr. Shapley?
Yes.
What did he say? Can you put your mic on there? What did he say?
Yes, he told me he was not the deciding person on whether or not charges were filed. He told us that D.C. U.S. Attorney had declined to allow charges. He told us that he had requested special counsel authority from Maine DOJ and denied that authority.
And was denied.
That's correct.
Were you the only guy in that meeting?
I was not.
How many other people were there?
There were 7 total people, including me.
You and Mr. Weiss and 5 others, right?
That's correct.
And have any of them come forward and say what you just said is not true?
They have not.
Oversight Chair James Comer seeks transparency for the American people about the investigation into the Biden family.
Joe Ziegler, he's the whistleblower number 10, a veteran IRS agent. He testified before the House Oversight Committee this afternoon. Take a listen.
Thus, as I read the public documents as the Department of Justice action against Hunter Biden, there is nothing that indicates Hunter Biden will be required to amend his false tax return for 2018. A false tax return that includes improper deductions for prostitutes, sex clubs, and his adult children's tuition.
So do the testimonies of these whistleblowers appear to show that the Department of Justice covered up obstructed investigations, more serious crimes, and committed by Hunter Biden?
I'll tell you what these whistleblowers' testimonies show us, that the Biden administration is seeking billions of dollars to hire more IRS agents to harass the American people while they spend America into oblivion, unconstitutionally, mind you, while hiding and obstructing illegal criminal behavior by Hunter Biden. Is more evidence that this administration is more of an aristocracy than a representative constitutional republic.
That's frightening. Now, Chris Ann, CNN was giving analysis on special counsel Jack Smith from Trump Mar-a-Lago indictment and what his sandwich message was to Donald Trump. Here it is.
Jack Smith going to Subway today is a message to Donald Trump. Donald Trump tries to intimidate people. He tries to bully people. He tries to scare you away. That was Jack Smith with no words and a simple $5 sub in his hand saying, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, the imagery was intentional.
So what does special counsel Jack Smith's Subway sub purchase say to you about the investigation of Donald Trump?
I don't know, Greg, because people see me rolling my eyes. What it says to me is that he was hungry and he's not counting his carbs. Was this like a really slow day for CNN, that they had nothing else to say? I mean, why is everything, even a man buying a sandwich, about Trump? This is really an expression of what they call Trump derangement disorder.
Not counting his carbs. That's the line of the day for me so far. If he'd ordered a pizza, who knows? The breaking story from New York, a federal judge has denied former President Donald Trump's bid to move his hush money payments case from New York State court to a federal venue. It will remain in Manhattan criminal court. Would there have been a benefit to Trump had they moved it?
Well, obviously, his attorneys think so. I think when you set aside the fact that there's obvious bias in that community, obvious bias against Trump within that state, there are also legal strategies that are completely different at the federal level than at the state level, even including some legal strategies that are opened up, because the whole argument was the difference between Trump, the private citizen, and Trump, the president of the United States. So the whole thing changes if it goes to federal court.
Yeah, that guy could have, in New York, he maybe got a bagel instead of a sandwich. Sorry. Okay.
He's not counting his carbs either.
Yeah, there you go. Presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy appeared on BET's Breakfast Club and shared a powerful thought.
You take a look at other countries. Nobody ever calls the Chinese Communist Party a hypocrite, or China a hypocrite, or Iran a hypocrite. Why is that? Because to be a hypocrite, you at least had to have ideals in the first place.
So how does America with our flaws compare to those others Vivek mentioned when it comes to pursuing life, liberty, and happiness? Quick on this one.
Yeah, well, Vivek later talks about and tries to admit that black people were not involved or were not considered in the forming of America's constitutional republic. I just have to go on record and say he was absolutely wrong. Our Declaration of Independence was written in defense of minorities, not against them.
Absolutely true. Chris Ann, thank you so much. Back to you in just a moment, Mike.
Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy was a guest on Flashpoint with Gene Bailey Tuesday night. One of the first topics discussed by the super successful businessman and practicing Hindu, his thoughts on religious freedom.
I think this is a great conversation to have because it's true that the United States of America is founded on Judeo-Christian values. That is a fact. And it is also a fact that I'm not raised in a Christian household. I'm a Hindu. I was born in a house of faith, and we raised our two sons in the same tradition as well. So I think it's a perfectly fair question to ask. I think the reality is that we share the same values, those Judeo-Christian values in common. I'm not running for pastor-in-chief. I'm running for commander-in-chief, president of the United States. But I share that same value set in common. I went to Christian high school in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm very familiar with the Bible and the values enshrined in the Bible. And I will tell you, when I read the Bible, it didn't feel like I was reading it for the first time. I do think that the real divide in our country is not between people of Hindu faith and Christian faith and Jewish faith. It's the people who believe in a one true God and those who have replaced that vacuum with new secular religions instead. Wokeism, transgenderism, climatism, COVIDism. These are modern cults that have substituted for the individual, family, nation, and God, faith in something bigger than ourselves. So I think that's the real divide in our country.
Ramaswamy added that he and his fellow millennials are hungry for a cause, and a belief in God is one of those things. To watch the interview in its entirety, and go to govictory.com/flashpoint.
See, here's what so many in Washington on the left fail to realize, whether it's rockets or any other matter. Rockets don't discriminate. They're like the storm that blows on the just and the unjust. They fly into Israel. They destroy Jewish, Muslim, and Christian Israeli citizens. So does the storm. Psalm 91 reminds us that the Lord is my refuge and my fortress. I will not be afraid of the terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day. The foundation is the key. Our foundation must be rooted in truth.